Hey there, history fans! Today we're diving into the epic saga of the Napoleonic Wars, a series of conflicts that reshaped Europe and the world. Picture this, it's the late 1700s, Europe is a powder keg of old rivalries, and along comes this short dude with a serious Napoleon complex. Okay, bad joke, but seriously, this guy Napoleon Bonaparte explodes onto the scene with a force that no one saw coming. Born on the island of Corsica, Napoleon wasn't destined for greatness. He was an outsider, a young man with big dreams and even bigger ambitions. He spoke French with an accent, which made him stand out, but man, could he wage war. His military prowess was undeniable. Napoleon rose through the ranks during the French Revolution, a time when the old order was being torn apart. It was a time of chaos, but chaos breeds opportunity, and Napoleon seized every opportunity that came his way. He was ambitious, a brilliant military mind, and quickly rose through the ranks. His strategic genius was unmatched. His victories in Italy made him a hero back home in France. People loved him. He became a symbol of hope and strength. But Napoleon wasn't content with just being a general. He had his eyes set on something much bigger. He staged a coup, seized power, and declared himself Emperor of France, just like that. It was a bold move that changed the course of history. Gone were the days of liberty, equality, eternity, at least for a while. Napoleon's rule brought him reward. Napoleon was in charge now. He had big plans for France. And his ambitions were buckled as things were. The Napoleonic Wars were just beginning. This is where our story really begins. Napoleon's rise to power was just the start. Napoleon's ambition knew no bounds. He dreamed of conquering all of Europe. He wasn't messing around. His campaigns would change the continent forever. Get ready for epic battles, cunning strategies, and enough drama to make your head spin. The Napoleonic Wars were a turning point in history. This is the Napoleonic Wars, a tale of ambition, power, and the relentless pursuit of glory. Alright, let's talk strategy. We're diving into the brilliant military maneuvers of Napoleon Bonaparte, a man whose name is synonymous with battlefield genius. Napoleon wasn't just lucky, he was a genius on the battlefield. His ability to read the terrain, anticipate enemy moves, and execute complex strategies was unparalleled. He revolutionized warfare with his innovative tactics. His strategies were a blend of speed, deception, and decisive action, which often left his enemies bewildered and defeated. Speed, surprise, and decisive action were his trademarks. He could mobilize his troops faster than anyone else, striking with precision and overwhelming force. He was like the Mozart of military maneuvers. Just as Mozart composed symphonies, Napoleon orchestrated battles with a level of artistry that was truly remarkable. One of his most stunning victories was the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805. This battle is often cited as his greatest triumph. Picture this, freezing December in present-day Czech Republic. The landscape was harsh, the conditions brutal, but Napoleon saw an opportunity. Napoleon faces off against a larger Austro-Russian army. Despite being outnumbered, he remained confident and composed. What does he do? He outmaneuvers them completely. Using a combination of feints and flanking maneuvers, he turned the tide of battle in his favor. Napoleon pretended to be weak, lured the enemy in, then, bam! He struck with a ferocity that shattered their lines. He smashed through their lines with a perfectly timed attack. His ability to execute such a complex plan with precision was nothing short of extraordinary. It was a masterpiece of military strategy. The Battle of Austerlitz is still studied in military academies around the world. Then came Friedland in 1807, another testament to his strategic brilliance. It was a brutal battle against the Russians. The fighting was intense, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The fighting raged for hours. The battlefield was a chaotic and bloody scene, with neither side willing to give an inch. Just when it seemed like both sides were spent, Napoleon unleashed his secret weapon, the Imperial Guard. These elite troops were his ace in the hole. These were his elite troops, the best of the best, and they smashed through the Russian lines, securing a decisive victory for Napoleon. Their impact was immediate and devastating. These victories cemented Napoleon's reputation as a military genius. He seemed unstoppable, a force of nature on the battlefield. He was like the Michael Jordan of his time, dominating everyone he faced. His strategies and tactics were revolutionary, changing the face of warfare forever. But even the greatest champions faced setbacks, and Napoleon's winning streak wouldn't last forever. His later campaigns would test his limits and ultimately lead to his downfall. With each victory, Napoleon's empire grew larger, stretching across vast territories and encompassing diverse cultures and peoples, and more powerful. Most of Europe was under his control, a testament to his military genius and relentless ambition. He put his own family members on the thrones of conquered nations, creating a dynasty. Talk about keeping it in the family. This move was meant to secure his hold over these regions, but it also sowed seeds of resentment. But conquering is one thing, controlling is another. Remember what I said about Europe being a powder keg? The diverse and often conflicting interests of the various regions made governance a complex and volatile affair. Well, Napoleon was about to find out the hard way. His empire was vast, but it was also spread thin, making it difficult to maintain control and respond to uprisings. His empire was vast, but it was also spread thin, with long supply lines and numerous fronts to defend. And not everyone was happy about being ruled by the French. Nationalistic fervor and local resistance movements began to stir, challenging French authority. One major headache was Spain. Napoleon tried to install his brother Joseph as king, hoping to stabilize the region under his family's rule. But the Spanish people weren't having it. They rose up in a bloody guerrilla war that drained French resources and manpower. The rugged terrain and fierce local resistance made it a nightmare for the French troops. It became known as the Spanish Ulcer, a constant thorn in Napoleon's side. The conflict dragged on, sapping the strength and morale of his forces. But the biggest disaster was yet to come. Napoleon's ambition would lead him to make a fateful decision. In 1812, Napoleon made a decision that would change the course of history. He invaded Russia. This campaign was meant to force Tsar Alexander I to comply with the continental system. Big mistake. The Russians knew they couldn't defeat Napoleon in a straight fight, so they used a different strategy, scorched earth. They retreated, drawing the French deeper into the vast Russian interior. They retreated eastward, burning everything in their wake. No food, no shelter, just endless miles of scorched earth. This left the French army without the necessary supplies to sustain themselves. The brutal Russian winter set in, and Napoleon's Grand Army, already weakened by hunger and exhaustion, was decimated. The freezing temperatures and relentless snowstorms took a heavy toll. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers froze to death or starved. The once mighty Grand Army was reduced to a shadow of its former self. It was a disaster of epic proportions. Napoleon's dream of European domination was shattered, and his empire would never recover from this catastrophic campaign. The disastrous Russian campaign was a turning point in the Napoleonic Wars. Napoleon's aura of invincibility was shattered. He had been defeated, and Europe's nations sensed weakness. They saw a chance to break free from French domination. Napoleon returned to France a shadow of his former self. His enemies, emboldened by his defeat, formed a new coalition against him. Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, all united against their common enemy. The walls were closing in. In 1815, Napoleon tried to stage a comeback. He escaped from exile on the island of Elba and returned to France, rallying his old troops for one last stand. It was a desperate gamble, a last roll of the dice. The final showdown took place near the small Belgian town of Waterloo. Napoleon's army faced off against a combined British and Prussian force led by the Duke of Wellington and Gebhard von Blücher. The battle raged for hours, a brutal back-and-forth struggle. In the end, Napoleon's luck ran out. He was defeated, decisively and completely. This time there would be no escape, no triumphant return. The Napoleonic Wars were over.